Welcome to the Thursday Night Play Space Live for Play Games. I'm Keith Avalone. Sam is, as usual, running the board, at least for now. He's going to take his chair here, though, shortly to show you Planet Flipper. We are part of Denver Starfest 2022, starting tomorrow. Starfest is actually a collection of festivals. We will be participating in the Game Fest portion of Starfest, and we will be demoing the next Play Now game at Game Fest called Planet Flipper. As we mentioned before, this is a game that was designed by Daryl Durston, who we met at Dice Tower West back in March in Las Vegas. It is a solo game with theme, which is what we're all about here at Play Now. We love theme, we love games. The idea in this game is you're an interplanetary real estate speculator. You buy planets for pennies, and you add atmosphere, literally. You turn an inhospitable orbiting rock into a lush, lavish oasis of a planet, and then you sell it at a handsome profit. You hope. Just like on HGTV, though, sometimes you flip, sometimes you flop. And that's where the game is in Planet Flipper. Can you succeed and flip that planet for big bucks? Sam did the graphic design on this game, and I'm going to turn the desk over to him right now to show you how it looks and how it plays. Let's go to the game cam and show you the components while Sam and I switch chairs. All right. Hello, everybody. This is Planet Flipper. As Keith said, we acquired this game back in March, and it's been kind of a mad rush to put it together so that we can try to have it ready for this other convention that we're going to now. Once again, a special thanks to Daryl for designing this. He really did a great job. I've gained the more I work on it, the more I appreciate the little nuances of strategy, and it's really a pretty neat game, so I'm excited to show it to you tonight. Before we get started, I want to kind of preface this with a general disclaimer that, you know, there's still some things that could need to get worked out here. We haven't done a ton of play testing with it in this form. Daryl has, of course, done plenty of play testing, but we have made a few changes since we acquired it, and so there could be a couple kinks that we run into along the way. But that being said, I played it a little bit earlier today, and it was very fun. So I'm excited to get it underway here, and I think let's go ahead and do just that. I'll start by explaining kind of the stuff that you're seeing on the table, and then we'll get into some gameplay here. Keith is going to set a timer at some point to make sure that we don't go over it. We're not going to play a whole game here. Once you start playing, I'll set the timer at 15 minutes.
Okay, yeah, so we'll give 15 minutes of gameplay in here. But before we get into that, let me just briefly explain what's going on. As Keith explained, you're a planet, or a planet flipper, and you've landed on this planet, and your job is to make it as luxurious as you can before you run out of oxygen and have to leave and then sell it for hopefully a profit. So let's kind of go over the tools that you have at your disposal here in order to do that. The bulk of the game is played with this board and these cards. It's really these three piles of cards that will get shuffled together here shortly. These represent sort of your resources available to you on any given turn. It's sort of an abstraction because they also double as the structures that you will build over the surface of your planet to make it hospitable. The main goal of the game is to get all of your essential structures in place before you run out of oxygen. So there's 4 essentials that you need. You have to level the atmosphere. You have to stabilize the Earth, or I guess it's not Earth when it's on a different planet, the terrain. You need to build sort of a headquarters, a main, base of operations for your potential client to live in, and then you need to adjust the temperature as well. So those are your 4 main objectives, and then of course the more of these, the optional objectives you accomplish, the better. So you also have these cargo cards. We'll explain that as we get more into the gameplay side of things. These are sort of peripheral extra bonuses that happen at certain points of the game. So once again, I'll explain that when we get into the gameplay here. The board is mostly there to keep track of the resources that you have at any given point, and also to track your oxygen at the top here. I don't know, there's kind of a glare that's preventing you from seeing. Yeah, you can see it. It's sort of oxygen symbol there. So anyway, you'll have to excuse the glare. But probably not doing a great job of explaining this all, but I think it will start to make sense once we get playing here. So the game operates in 3 phases: the prep phase, the action phase, and the report phase. All 3 of those are outlined on this nifty little reference card that you've got here. However, the game starts with a landing phase, which replaces your first prep phase. So we'll go through the landing phase, and then we will do the action and report phase, and then we'll loop back around to the prep phase and do that until either we accomplish our goal or run out of oxygen. Either could happen, really. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the landing phase. So I might refer back to this card at some point. I think I've got it mostly all in my head by now. But if I need to do some reading, you'll have to excuse me here. So the first thing that we do is separate all our cards out. We've done that. We want to establish who our client that we're going to be working for is. Normally I set these up above the board, but since we're working with a limited camera space here, they're going to get set off to the side. So let's see who we've got. And it looks like we will be trying to flip a planet for Sandra Scrupulous. She's got some specific goals in mind that she wants. She wants to have lots of developed structures, and she wants no waste, no vaporized cards at the end of the game. So that might be difficult for us to accomplish, but we'll see what we can do to accommodate. Now we've got our event deck. We'll just give that a shuffle. Everything really should get shuffled before we get started. We'll go over here as well. Again, it should go up top. Limited space. We're working with it. Vaporized will also go over here for the time being. Let's see. Now we've got these. So these 3 piles are going to make up our resource deck once we shuffle them all together. But before we do that, we're going to go through a part of the landing phase is that we're going to deal out 5 of these cards. We're going to pick one to start as sort of our starting structure to give us some benefits right off the bat. So I'll shuffle these up and deal out 5 from the top. And so we get to pick one of these, and then the other 4 are going to get vaporized. And again, I'm going to do my best to explain kind of what all this terminology means, but we are on a limited time frame, so I want to keep that in mind as well. Without going into too much detail, I think that the storage facility is going to be a good pick for us. I guess I should probably explain what you're looking at on these cards. So each of these resource cards is double-sided. There's a blueprint side, and there is a developed side. That's right. Okay. On the blueprint side, you've got a few things here, and each of them kind of is tied to how you can play the card. So any of these resource cards can be played in one of 4 ways. The first way is just simply to discard it, and then you'll get to collect whatever resource is indicated in the collect box up at the top of the card. The second option is to build it, which is you have to pay a resource cost indicated on the side of the card there. The third way is to use it to build a bot. You can discard any 2 cards from your hand at any time in order to build a bot. And then the fourth way is to upgrade. Well, I guess that's not really a way that you play the card. Once you have the card built, then you can pay to upgrade it at the bottom of the card. I keep thinking it's backwards there. You can see additional resource cost at the bottom of the card. Once you pay that, you flip it over, and now you've got a nice developed structure that's going to give you increased benefits over the course of the game. So these are all referred to as structure cards, the ones with the blue tint to them. Then you have the essential cards that are denoted by a yellow tint, and it also says essential up at the top in case you forget. And then there's the cargo cards. So the essential cards are largely similar to the structure cards, except that you have to build them in order to win the game. That's sort of your objectives. The cargo cards, however, are a little bit different in that they can't be built, per se. The only thing that you'll do with them is discard them to collect a gear resource, which represents sort of a wild resource. You get to pick whatever you want with it. Or you can choose to vaporize it, as it says on the card there. I'm going to do my best to kind of hold these steady so you can hopefully read a little bit. You can vaporize it and instantly gain 3 of any resource. So sometimes a useful mechanic. Anyways, we've selected the, where was I? We had a, there it is. Storage facility. So that's going to be our starting structure. We get to start with it upgraded, which is good news for us. And the remainder of these cards are going to get vaporized. So this sort of adds a random element to the start of each game and makes so that you have sort of a different playing experience every time that you go through. But now that we've done that, we're going to gather together our cargo and essential cards and add it to the structure cards. And now these all get shuffled up and will form our core resource deck. I'm going to try to shuffle quickly here. And it'll get shuffled more over the course of the game, so we don't need to worry too much about it anyways. All right, let me just quickly look over my card to make sure that we've got everything in place here. Yep. I forgot to mention, you get to choose a difficulty setting at the start of the game by choosing how many cargo cards you put into your deck. The less cargo you put into your deck, the more difficult it is, obviously. But we're going to play with full cargo because I don't want to lose on live television. So we deal out 4 cards to form our opening hand. It's important to make sure that these are all face up with the blueprint side. And now we're going to move on to our very first action phase. So this is where the meat of the game takes place. And basically all that's going to happen is you've got your cards in your hand. You're going to play cards until you run out of them. And then once you're out of them, you'll draw new cards. 4 new cards from the deck. Once you run out of cards to draw, then the action phase is over. You move on to the report phase, and then to the prep phase once again, and then back to the action phase. And it's just a cycle like that until you run out of oxygen or meet all of your goals. So we're in the action phase now. Let's start playing some cards. I'm looking at what I've got in my hand here, and I'm thinking, so I've got this essential card here. It might be a good idea for me to try to get this built, although in order to build it, I need 3 bots. I don't know if you can see that there. I need 3 bots and 2 ore in order to build this card, so it's probably not in the cards for me this round. I think I need to start getting some bots built so that I can start, get her done, as it were. Although I've got 2 cargo cards in my hand, which I think will be useful. No, we don't need any resource in particular right now. We'll discard those and get a bot, and then we'll discard these 2 and get a bot. And once again, one of the ways that you can play these cards is to discard any 2 of them and use that to build a bot. So we've built 2 bots now. We've denoted that on our HUD board, and we're moving on to our next hand. I was out of cards in my hand. I refilled a 4. We're going to do the same thing here. So now I've got 2 bots, which is good, although I don't have any resources, which is not so good. Usually the first turn of the game is really just about acquiring resources. You're not going to be doing a whole lot of building. So sort of with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and we'll build 1 more bot. We'll discard these 2 since I don't need a ton of water. We got a 3rd bot underway. And I'll take a water and an ore. So this will come up 1. That will come up 1. 4 more cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, since I have 3 bots built, one thing that I have to keep in mind here is that they're going to need maintenance during the report phase, which will happen once I'm all the way through this deck. So I have to have 1 oil on hand for each of my bots that I've got, which means I need 3 oil at the end of this turn. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to repair them, and I'm going to lose them, essentially. So with that in mind, I want to definitely collect some oil off of this card. Oil is just another resource, just like the rest of them are. Nothing particularly special about it, except that you will need it at the end of every report phase in order to maintain your bots. So it's important to have lots of oil whenever you can. Let's see, can I build anything here? I really can't. Can I get a... Oh, no. Okay, I think I want this hydrodome. So I'm looking at these cards here and I'm thinking, man, it would be nice to gain 1 water during each prep phase. I think maybe something that I forgot to mention while I was talking about these cards is that in addition to all the stuff that it costs in order to bring them into play, you also get a benefit. So each of the cards has some text on there And once it's been built and is in your build grid, the 3x3 imaginary grid that you get to populate with these structures, then you'll get some bonuses from it every turn. Sometimes it happens during the prep phase. Sometimes it happens during the report phase. Sometimes it's just kind of like a permanent thing. But the Hydrodome, for example, is going to allow me to gain 1 water during each prep phase. So that's a nice little bonus. I'm going to go ahead and pick that up by paying... well, let's see. First I need to discard this in order to gain a power. And then I would pay a water, a power, and an ore. Water, power, ore. And now I've got my Hydrodome built. And let's go ahead and discard the oxygen crop and take another ore here.
You might mention that this is what's tracking all the different values of ore and water. And
yes, yeah, the board here is what's keeping track of my resources. So as I discard cards from my hand to gain resources, I'm moving my pawns around on this board to indicate how much I have on hand at any given time. So yeah, that's definitely a good thing to keep in mind here. Let's see. Yeah, I think I want oil. So we'll discard this one, take an oil. And we'll go ahead and discard these 2 as well to take 2 more oil. Now normally at the start of the game, I wouldn't be able to go past my level 1 capacity on these for each of my resources. So there's a limited amount of resources that you can collect at a time. That gets upgraded over the course of the game, though, by the storage facility card, which luckily I got to start with. And so by starting with the storage facility fully upgraded, all of my resources are uncapped in their capacity, basically. So I can have up to 10 water, power, oil, and so on. So that's good. And really, any of these cards would have been good to start with. They each provide unique advantages. And like I said at the start, it makes for a different play experience each time. I'm talking too much. We're going to move on. Water, 4 more cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm good on oil as far as maintaining my bots goes. So now I'm kind of thinking about, are there any other cards that I want to build? Let's see here. I have this Oasis in my hand. This is kind of a fun card in that it doesn't do anything for you, but the clients love it. So you'll score a bunch of extra bonus points at the end of the game if you're able to build and upgrade an Oasis for them to sort of relax at. But I don't think that's really what I want to focus on right now. Really, I think I just want to collect a bunch of more resources. So we'll take 2 more oil from these 2. And we'll take an ore and a power. Like I said, usually the first turn is all about just kind of acquiring as much resource as you can. Although this might be nice to have. I'm looking at the defense system. We're about to trigger an event here during the next prep phase, and this defense system card can sometimes come in handy for negating negative effects.
Like what?
Well, there's lots of stuff that could happen. I don't know if you and Keith said, like what? Over to this side. There's a whole host of stuff. I don't want to spoil it for you. I'm sure we'll find out soon enough just what kind of troubles can fall upon you in space. We'll just take 2 more power here. 2 more power for me. Okay, so we are out of cards in our deck, which means it is time to move on to the report phase. And I'm just going to read directly from our little reference card so we make sure we get everything done here. First thing we have to do is spend 1 oil to maintain each of our bots. 1 oil per bot. We've got 3 bots. I spend 3 oil. So we're back down to 3. That's all good. Now I have to reduce the oxygen level by 1. So it goes from 7 down to 6. Basically, we've got 7 turns in the game is what that's keeping track of there. And then we shuffle the discard pile to form our next deck. So we'll give this a brief shuffle. We'll cut it. That's going to happen during the prep phase, which we're moving on to now. Keith said, don't forget the event. It's a struggle. I'm trying to talk to Keith over on the side here, and also you can't hear him, so it makes for an interesting dynamic. So if I just kind of mutter things,
I'll talk louder.
Yeah, you can appreciate that that's why. Time for the prep phase. So the next thing that we need to do is draw an event card. Every prep phase starts with drawing an event card, and let's see what happens to us. Oh, nice, good. System's clear, which means nothing happens. That's what we like to see. I guess we probably won't have time to get to another one of these, so I'll briefly go through the event deck with you, and you can see that about half of the cards are these system clear cards, which means that nothing happens. But on the other half of them, you'll get stuff like, oh, I don't know, flooding. So if you have a bunch of water, it's spilling everywhere, and it's going to ruin some of your structures. Sometimes, sometimes good things happen. Sometimes you'll draw an event card, and it'll give you some extra resources. Rarely, but, more often than not, you get stuff like processing malfunctions, or a power surge, or a meteor shower, or sometimes you'll get raided by space pirates. So that's never fun. I kind of dread drawing from the event deck most of the time, but sometimes it works out. So with that out of the way, we will move on. And okay, so next thing we do is activate card effects, such as our Hydro Dome here, which says that we gain 1 water during each prep phase. Awesome. Good of me to build that. I'm glad I did. So I get to move my water up the track there 1 now. And now we just draw 4 cards, and we move right back into the action phase. So we're on the second round of the game. We got 6 oxygen bars left. I'm thinking it's probably time we start building some essential structures. So I've got leveling atmosphere in my hand here. It needs 2 water and 2 ore in order to build it. And I've got 2 water and 2 ore, so I think I'm going to build it. That goes down to 0. This goes down to 0. And we're in business. We've begun leveling our atmosphere. Let's pick up another oil just because, you can never have too much of that. And I would like to build another bot, but unfortunately I'm at max capacity. I have to build the main base card in order to keep moving up on that track. I'm looking if there's anything else I can build here. Yeah, I could build an oil refinery. That's, I think, going to come in handy. So I will discard storage facility, take a water, and then I will build oil refinery for the cost of a water, a power, and an oil. So that comes down 1, and this comes down 1, and so does that. Okay. So we've got some more cards in the build grid now. We'll deal out 4 more to our hand. How are we doing on time?
3.5 minutes left.
3.5 minutes left. Okay, we could probably make it through this. So, let's see. I could get the land foundation. I think I do want that. That's another essential card, so we have to build it at some point. I've got the 3 bots. Oh, no, I don't have any ore. Never mind. I can't. Well, I could get the ore, though, so I'm looking at the cards in my hand. I could discard my cargo to take any resource that I want, and I want ore. Discard my holding zone, grab another ore, and now I will build the land foundation with my newfound resources of 2 ore and 2 bots. Oh, I should specify, I should clarify rather. The bots aren't a finite resource like the other ones are. So when a card calls for a certain number of bots in order to be built or upgraded, you don't lose those bots when upgrading it. That's just a requirement in order to do it. So if it says 3 bots, I've got 3 bots. We're good. I don't discard any bots. I don't lose any bots. I just need the 3 in order to build that card. So important clarification there. Let's take another oil from the mining depot and deal out 4 more cards. 2, 3, 4. I'd like to get a card upgraded before we end our time here. Oh, wow, look at that. 3 cargo cards in a row. You know what? We're not going to be playing this too much longer. Let's use them while we got them. So these cargo cards you can choose to vaporize at any point to gain any 3 resources. That essentially means that you're removing them from the game for the rest of the game. So you won't get to collect from them every other subsequent turn, but you do get 3 right off the bat, which I think is going to be worth it for us here. So we'll vaporize it, put it in the vaporized pile. And there are a few clever ways that you can use to get cards out of that vaporized pile, but it's a little tricky. It's more or less gone. And so we get 3 of any resource. I want to upgrade my... I want to upgrade this Hydro Dome, I think. That's actually a pretty easy upgrade. think I've got the stuff to do that right now. Let's look at oil refinery. So let's take 3 water from our cargo that we just discarded. Let's try to upgrade this. We need 3 water and 2 power. We've got that right now. Move that back down to 0 and that down to 0. Now we get to flip this over. And now, during each prep phase, we're going to get 2 oil just for free. Just a free little bonus that we get for 6 turns for the rest of the game now. And let's try to upgrade Hydrodome as well. We need a water, a power, and an ore. We'll vaporize another cargo card. And we'll take a water, a power, and an ore. And then we'll spend them all again. And we'll flip this over. Easy as that. And I don't think we want to get rid of all of our cargo. It would not be very wise of me to do that. So we'll just take that. And we'll take that. 4 more of these. You get maybe 1 more hand left.
20 seconds.
20 seconds. Okay. Maybe we'll make it through. That's all right, though. You get the gist of it, I think. This would be a good stopping point anyways. I think you've seen enough to get the gist of what is going on here with Planet Flipper. So yeah, that's how it plays. We would go through 7 rounds of this. It usually takes 30, 40, 45 minutes maybe to play around, depending on how deep into it you get. It is challenging. It does present a challenge sometimes. It's not always so easy to get all of your essentials upgraded even, which is really just the bare minimum. And then once that happens, then you're trying to, upgrade all of your other structures and just make a nice little biome for your client to come live in. I don't think I really touched on these cards even. Oh, yes, I did at the start of the stream, yeah, where you've got the different goals. So there's different clients in the deck here, and they each have some different things that they're looking for in their planet. So that, in addition to the many other factors at play here, makes for a unique game every time you play. So that's Planet Flipper. I've really had a lot of fun designing it and also playing it, and it should be coming out here in the next 30 days or so. We're anticipating to launch it. That's not a finite time frame. Anything could happen. But yeah, that's what we're shooting for. And we will be playtesting it at Starfest next weekend. I'm going to hand the mic back to Keith now. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so one thing Sam did not mention is this is the first Play Now game that has no dice. This is not a luck-driven game. You're not going to get lucky to win this game. It's one of these games that you've really got to plan. And all the options are on the table, but you can't do them all. So you have to decide, what do I need to do now? What are my priorities right now? You really do have to. It's a planning, thinking, and execution game. There's no luck to this game, aside from a minor element of luck in terms of what cards are, what the order of cards you get are. But it's an interesting game. It's unlike our other games. It's very much the kind of game that you'd see played, I think, at Dice Tower, and we're really excited to add it to the Play Now lineup. As Sam mentioned, we're targeting June as the release date for Planet Flipper. I know it's pretty broad, 30 days in June. We'll have a better idea of the exact release date in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned. That's all for tonight. Hope you enjoyed our sneak peek of Planet Flipper. We appreciate your viewership, and be sure to hit the like button on the way out tonight. Our next scheduled stream will be our annual History Makers Who Served Memorial Day weekend baseball game in History Maker Baseball, Army versus Navy, with the History Makers Who Served card set. It's available on the website. This will be our 5th year to do this game, and Army won the first game in 2018, but Navy has won the last 3. So we'll see if Army can get off the schneid and pick up a win. That will be Thursday evening, the 26th, just before Memorial Day weekend. Until then, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you have an awesome weekend this weekend, and we will see you in a couple weeks, if not sooner, right here on the Play Games YouTube channel.